जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन जमुनातीरा वनचारी जमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताई जय गौरानिताई निताई गौर हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome this morning to the Srimad Bhagavatam session. I will share the screen to read Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita first. Srila Prabhupada visit Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada visited the wealthy Delhi industrialist Mr. Seth Dalmia to discuss plans for printing some of his books in India. Mr. Dalmia received him well, but gave only vague promises of help. Prabhupada also met with Hitsaran Sharma, Mr. Dalmia's secretary, who worked closely with Hanuman Prasad Poddar of the popular religious publishing company Gita Press. Srila Prabhupada was already acquainted with all three gentlemen since they had all donated towards his first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada wanted Gita Press to publish his Gita Upanishad and Srimad Bhagavatam. Hitsaran Sharma showed him an illustrated Gita in Hindi poetry that he had recently published. But my Gita, my Bhagavatam, said Srila Prabhupada, appearing disgusted, is the description of God. It is a description of Krishna. Mr. Sharma said he couldn't see how Gita Press could print Prabhupada's voluminous writings. Nevertheless, Prabhupada still considered privately printing Gita Upanishad with Mr. Sharma as his agent. On October 11, Prabhupada wrote to Brahmananda, "We must have our books printed. We have wasted much time in the matter of editing and finding out a suitable publisher. When I was alone, there was 3 volumes published, but during the last 2 years, I could not publish a single volume more. It's a great defeat. If I have one or two sincere souls like you, and if we can make more publications, then our mission will be a great success. I'm prepared to sit down underneath a tree with one sincere soul, and in such activity, I shall be freed of all diseases." So I can stop for it. That would be easy for tomorrow. I can stop here. Or maybe I can take 1 or 2 paragraphs. It's so fascinating. Devotees from America were regularly writing Swamiji, anxious to see him again in good health, but he didn't want to leave India. He explained, until he personally saw that the printing of his Gita Upanishad was underway. Printing Gita Upanishad and obtaining approval for permanent residency in the US were the 2 short-term goals he wished to achieve before returning, but he thought often of his return to America. As you're all feeling my separation, similarly, I'm anxious anxious to return as soon as possible. I think I'm fit to go back to your country at present and as scheduled. Previously, I'm sure by the end of October, I must be fit to return. But before this, there are many things to be done. I'm not yet assured of the permanent visa. The best thing will be that from each center, an invitation should be sent that my presence is urgently required. Presently, I'm very much anxious to begin printing here if Macmillan Company does not take up the work. Please, therefore, let me know yes or no from Macmillan. If he is not serious, then immediately send the manuscripts finished or not to the following address. Pandit Hitsaran Sharma, care of Dalmia Enterprises, Scindia House, New Delhi. After dispatching, let me know and I shall do the needful. Indian friends who visited Prabhupada's room listened eagerly as he told them about America. The millions of cars and the superhighways and thousands of young people rejecting their father's wealth. But Prabhupada's visitors weren't fully able to understand his visit to America. Not that they were too simple to understand, and not just that they had never traveled in the West. Prabhupada's experience in America consisted of intimate spiritual relationships with his disciples. How could an outsider understand the dynamics of his temple and his disciples in the West? How could anyone except Prabhupada and his disciples understand these things? My mind is always with you. Practically, your country is my home now. India is a foreign country to me. The reason is that my spiritual family is there and my material relationships are in India. Therefore, factually, where my spiritual family exists, there is my home. Srila Prabhupada's vision of a worldwide society of devotees preaching in temples and publishing books, a vision he had even before he had gone to America, was now becoming manifest. But it was dependent on him. In his absence, his disciples were sustained only by carrying out his orders and receiving his letters. When Dayananda and Nandarani had gone from the San Francisco temple to start a temple in Los Angeles, It had been Swamiji's instructions that had sustained and guided them. Wherever there is a new branch of our Society for Krishna Consciousness, I become very, very happy. And my blessings in heart and soul are with you. On receipt of Swamiji's letter, they knew they had done the right thing, no matter that husband and wife sometimes quarreled and that there wasn't enough money. The main thing was that Swamiji was pleased. I'll stop reading here. And we'll go to our verse of today. That is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 2, verse number 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sruhit satam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shlokir bhakti bhavati naishtikir. Jai. So we can start reading the verse and the synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada. I don't know the meter of this, so I will just read the verse. And if someone knows the meter, can feel free to sing it as well. Tam eva vidure madhukarim eva sumanasa upajigrantim divija manujamano nayana halad dugair gati vihar vrida vinayo valokasu suswarakshara avyavair manasi nirnam कुसुमाधुयस्य विदधतिं विवरं निजमुख विगलितामृतासव सहास भाषणमोद मदन्ध मधुकर निकरोपरोधेन द्रुतपदा विनयेशेन वल्गु स्पदनस्तन कलशकबर भार रशनां देवीं तद् अवलोकनेन विवृता वत्सरस्य भगवतो मकर ध्वजस्य वशम् उपनीतो जडवद् इति होवच. So yeah, this is quite a difficult verse. If somebody would like to try.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I try please?
Please, yes, thank you.
Tami babidure madhukari mi basumanas upajigrantim divija manuja manonoyana lada dughoir goti bihar brida binoya baloka suswarakshara বয়বৈ মনসী নৃণাম কুসুমায়ুধস্য বিদোদতিম বিবরম নিজমুখ বিগলিতামৃতা শব সহাস ভাস নামোদ মদান্ত মধুকর নিকর পরধেন দ্রুতপদ বিন্যাসেন বল্গু স্পন্দন স্তন কলশ কবর ভার রসনাম দেবীম তদ অবলোকেন বিবৃতা বসরস্য ভগবত মকর ধ্বজস্য বশম উপনীত জড়বদিত উবাচ. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So beautifully sung. Anybody else who would want to try?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Tam eva vidure madhukarim eva sumanasa upajigrahantim divijya manuja manonaya na ahalade dugahi gati vihara virida vinaya avaloka shushvaraksha शुश्वराक्षरावया या वैर्मनसि निर्नामकुषु मया युधस्या विदधत् हतिं विवरं निजमुखं विगलित आत्मृता सवाशहास भासना मोद मन्द मद मद अंधः मधुकरा निकररूपरोधेना धृतपादविनयेशेन वल्गुस्पन्दना स्तनकलशा कबोरः भाररसनां देवीं तत् अवलोकनेन विवृता अवशररस्या भगवतो मकर ध्वजस्या वसम् उपनीतो जडवद इति होवाच. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Tameva vidure madhukarimiva sumanasa upajigrantim divija manuja mano nayanallada dughoy goti vihara vinaya avaloko susharakshara abhayavoir manushi nrinam kusumayudhasya বিদদতিম বিবরম নিজমুখ বিগলিতামৃতাশব সহাস ভাষণামোদ মধান্ধ মধুকর নিকর পরধেন দ্রুতপদ বিন্যাসেন বল্গুস্পন্দন স্তন কলস কবর ভাররসনাম দেবীম তদবলোকনেন বিবৃতা বরশস্য ভগবত মকরধ্বজস্য বশম উপনীত জড়বৎ ইতি হোবাচ। হরে কৃষ্ণ।
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So we can read the synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tam, to her. Eva, indeed. Avidure, nearby. Madhukarim iva, like a honeybee. Sumanashaha, beautiful flowers. Upajigrahantim, smelling. Divija, of those born in the heavenly planets. Manuja, of those born in the human society. Manaha, mind. Nayana, for the eyes. Ahalada, pleasure. Dugahe, producing. Gati, by her movement. Vihara, by pastimes. Vrida, by shyness. Vinaya, by humility. Avaloka, by glancing. Suswara akshara, by her sweet voice. Avya vai, by the limbs of the body. Manasi, in the mind. Nirnam, of men. Kusum ayudhasya, of Cupid, who has a flower arrow in his hand. Vidadhatim, making. Vivaram, oral reception. Nijamukha, from her own mouth. Vigalita, pouring out. Amrita asava, nectar like honey. Sahasa, in her smiling. Bhashana, and talking. Amoda, by the pleasure. Mada andha, blinded by intoxication. Madhukara, of bees. Nikara, by groups. Uparodhena, because of being surrounded. Druta, hasty. Pada, of feet. Vinyasena, by stylish stepping. Valgu, a little. Spandana, moving. Stana, breasts. Kalasha, like water pots. Kabara, of her braids of hair, bhara, weight, rashanam, the belt upon the hips, devim, the goddess, tat avalokanena, simply by seeing her, vivrita avasarasya, taking the opportunity of, bhagavataha, of the greatly powerful, makara dvajasya, of Cupid, vasham, under the control, upanitaha, being brought in, jadavat, as if stunned, iti, thus, ha, certainly, uvacha, he said. Translation: like a honeybee, the Apsara smelled the beautiful, attractive flowers. She could attract the minds and the vision of both humans and demigods by her playful movements, her shyness and humility, her glances, the very pleasing sounds that poured from her mouth as she spoke, and the motion of her limbs. By all these qualities, she opened for Cupid, who bears an arrow of flowers, a path of oral reception into the minds of men. When she spoke, nectar seemed to flow from her mouth. As she breathed, the bees, mad for the taste of her breath, tried to hover about her beautiful lotus-like eyes. Disturbed by the bees, she tried to move hastily, but as she raised her feet to walk quickly, her hair, the belt on her hips, and her breast, which were like water jugs, also moved in a way that made her extremely beautiful and attractive. Indeed, she seemed to be making a path for the entrance of Cupid, who is most powerful. Therefore, the prince, completely subdued by seeing her, spoke to her as follows. Purport. How a beautiful woman's movements and gestures, her hand and the structure of her breasts, hips, and other bodily features attract the minds not only of men but of demigods also, is very finely described in this statement. The word Divija and Manuja especially emphasize that the attraction of feminine gestures is powerful everywhere within this material world, both on this planet and in the higher planetary systems. It is said that the standard of living in the higher planetary systems is thousands and thousands of times higher than the standard of living on this planet. Therefore, the beautiful bodily features of the women, there are also thousands and thousands of times more attractive than the features of women on earth. The Creator has constructed women in such a way that their beautiful voices and movements and the beautiful features of their hips, their breasts, and other parts of their bodies attract the members of the opposite sex, both on earth and on planets, and awaken their lusty desires. When one is controlled by Cupid or the beauty of women, he becomes stunned like matter, such as stone. Captivated by the material movements in women, he wants to remain in the material world. Thus, one's promotion to the spiritual world is checked simply by seeing the beautiful bodily structure and movements of women. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore warned all devotees to be beware of the attraction to beautiful women and materialistic civilization. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even refused to see Prataparudra Maharaj because he was very opulent. He was a very opulent person in the material world. Lord Chaitanya said in this connection, Nishkin Chanasya Bhagavato Bhagavat Bhajano Mukhasya. Those who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord because they are very serious about going back home, back to Godhead, should be very careful to avoid seeing the beautiful gestures of women and should also avoid seeing persons who are very rich. Nishkin chanasya bhagavat bhajanon mukhasya param param jigamishor bhavasagarasya sandarshanam vishayinam atha yoshitam cha ha hanta hanta vishabhakshanato api asadhu. Alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification, or seeing a woman who is similarly interested in more abominable than drinking poison willingly. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 11.8. One who is serious about going back home, back to Godhead, should not contemplate the attractive features of women and opulence of rich men. Such contemplation will check one's advancement in spiritual life. Once a devotee is fixed in Krishna consciousness, however, these attractions will not agitate his mind. This is a wonderful purport with a beautiful translation. And we are on Canto 5, where the activities of Maharaj Agnidhara is being described here. Before we move on, let's seek blessings from Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वीरकृष्णदास गोस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौरा भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे. So, welcome again to the Srimad Bhagavatam session. We are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 2, and verse number 6. We just read the beautiful verse. And before I even begin, how many of you had this in your mind, that why such a detailed description of the woman is being described here? Surely it creates a little bit of anxiety and anxiousness about reading, but there is a reason. There is a reason behind everything that is in Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's explore some of the reasons today. We are in this chapter where the activities of Maharaj Agnidhara is being described, and so after Priyavrata departed to follow the path of liberation, his first son Agnidhara, following his order and observing the principles of dharma protected the citizens of Jambudvip. We are reading from verse 1, like his own children. And then the verse 2 talks about the austerities. Desiring to get a perfect son, and become an inhabitant of Pitralok, Pitraloka Kamaha, Maharaj Agnidra worship Lord Brahma by austerities in the valley of Mandara Hill, where the heavenly damsels would come to stroll. Agnidra desired Pitralok, though he's the son of a Vaishnav. Very important point to understand here, that he desired Pitralok, even though he's the son of a Vaishnav, Priyavarta. This is because Agnidra was born when Priyavarta was infatuated by lusty desires. Agnidra sees, in these verses, Agnidra sees Purvachitti, who is sent by Brahmaji. So Brahma sends Purvachitti. She's understanding Agnidra's desire. Brahma, the first and the most powerful created being in this universe, sent him Purvachitti, the best of dancing girls in his assembly. Purvachitti started strolling in the beautiful park nearby where the king was meditating and worshipping. The park was beautiful with green foliage, golden creepers, peacocks, and lakes filled with duck, swans, clear water, and lotus flowers. Agnidra opened his eyes, although Agnidra was controlling his senses and practicing yoga with half-open eyes. When he heard the sweet tinkling of Purvachitti's bangles, he opened his eyes slightly and could see her moving gracefully. Purvachitti attracts Agnidra. She made Cupid enter the minds of humans and demigods by her playful movements, shyness, humility, glances, and soft words. Agnidra completely subdued by seeing her and spoke her as follows, which we may read tomorrow. So Purvachitti attracts Agnidra in this verse, and there's a lot of description, a huge description of Purvachitta here. So one who is serious, Srila Prabhupada writes here, one who is serious about going back home should not contemplate. Contemplate on what? Contemplate on the lusty desires. Contemplate on the beautiful form of the woman. So Priyavarta's son, Maharaj Agnidra, he's entering the Grihastha ashram. So in the previous yugas, when one is even entering the Grihastha ashram, people used to perform austerities for that, entering a Grihastha ashram, because there were desires included in that. So when we perform austerities, we often go to spiritual places. We go to places where, like in Kartik month, we all go to Vrindavan. Around Gaura Purnima, we all want to be in Mayapur. So these are places of spiritual potency. Here, in this verse, Priyavarta, based on Priyavarta's desires, based on Agnidra's desires, he chose the wrong place. What is the wrong place here? Mandara Hills. Mandara Hills, like it is for an example, it is like we want to go, we choose to go for chanting at a shopping mall. Like how attractive that would be, how attentive our chanting would be if we choose to go and chant in the shopping mall. Will that be a good idea? What happens when we go to a shopping mall and then we chant our rounds? We'll be very much attracted by the other things apart from chanting. So Agnidhra deliberately chooses this place, Mandara Mountains. Why? That is based on his desire. So in this verse, we understand that there is a wrong choice of place. Then what is the right, and where is the right place? The right place the right place depends on the desire that we have. If we have the desire to go back to Godhead, we look at places where spiritual advancement can happen. But here the desire is still material desire. So our mind, even when we are doing our japas, our mind is like a child. If we say, if a child is told actually to sit, he will stand. If a child is told to stand, he will sit. So our mind is similar, the same. If we choose the wrong place, which is chanting from the mind, we often end up going to wrong places, and therefore the spiritual advancement is always at stake. So the good place to chant can be in the temple where the deities are visible, altar. Altar is a place where we can meditate on the deities, or dham. So we can discuss about this, that because of Agnidhara's desire to be in Pitralok, he knew that there are various apsaras who come to Mandara Hills, Mandara Mountains. And it is not by his pure innocence or by mistake that he's sitting there in the Mandara Mountains. He's sitting there because he desires. The desire is to choose an apsara, so that the Lord, whatever desire we have in our heart, Lord makes arrangements for those desires to be fulfilled. This is how Lord creates faith. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is described in many places where Krishna makes the faith stronger. If we want to forget Krishna, Krishna makes that as well. Or even that arrangement is done by Krishna. So we often hear this, that the universe is making all arrangements. So this is because where our desires are. So Srila Prabhupada is indicating here that why, the Creator has constructed women in such a way that beautiful voices and movements and the beautiful features of the hips, the breast, and so on attract the members of the opposite sex, both on Earth and on other planets, and awaken their lusty desires. So desires is something which is very interesting to look upon. Now, this has been sitting in us like we don't even know what kind of desires we have. Some are really evident, we know that, yes, I want this, I want this, I want this. And some are so nicely hidden from births that we don't even know, and we can't even imagine that we can desire like that. So this is the beauty of desire, and this is the beauty of being in material world. And we can have the most beautiful desire of going back to Godhead, or the most abominable to be doing such activities in the material world, and the material nature will make arrangements to fulfill it. So it is often asked, by Srila Prabhupada often quotes, like, where there is a will, there is a way. And in material world, Srila Prabhupada also quotes that this world is full of cheaters and the cheated. So if we like being cheated, we will find cheaters. And one disciple once asked Srila Prabhupada that why do we see less people in temples, but we see the malls are full, and we often see that. We often notice it till today that the malls are full of people on weekends, but the temples, there's nobody there. Only a handful of devotees would like to flock together in a temple environment. So Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is like a jewelry store, and the value of jewelry or any precious jewel would only be known to rare people. So Krishna consciousness is expensive, and one who knows the value of spiritual advancement will come to Krishna consciousness. And therefore, this is also a desire to come to Krishna consciousness. If we desire to serve the Lord, we need to pay the big price. And the big price is paying off material consciousness. So if we desire, Krishna makes arrangements. What kind of arrangements he makes? And how does he make those arrangements? Lord is sitting in our heart in the form of Paramatma and guiding us. And if we desire to come near him, he will make all arrangements by giving us the light of knowledge to come to him. We've learned that in Bhagavad Gita Chatur Shloki as well. And if we desire to forget Krishna, Krishna fulfills that as well. It's not that Krishna is if our desire is to forget Krishna, Krishna will say, be happy in the material world. One day we have to be frustrated anyways. So in this matter of desires, we're so very unaware of our own desires that it has been sitting in us past many, many previous births in the form of samskaras. And subconsciously, this is sitting in us, and we've been suppressing it. We've been unaware of it, and it's been hidden from us. So desires are like, a good example can be taken as desires are like iceberg, where the tip of the iceberg is what we can see, and down there there's this huge deeper levels. And the Lord, the knower of every living entity, knows the desires of everyone. We as living entity, we may be knowing limited desires of ourselves. We don't even know ourselves. And Krishna then puts faith according to our desires. Krishna fulfills our desires, and we say, when Krishna fulfills our material desires, we say, thank you, Krishna, and probably walk away once our desires are done, finished. That's why we see that most of the people, they come to Krishna consciousness because they're needy, or God consciousness because they're needy of some material desires. And then because at some point there's always the poor will always want for wealth, the rich will always want for protection or this or that. If we have material kaleshas, we go to Krishna or we go to the Lord, and then we ask for prayers, and once that is done, we often say bye, thank you, Krishna, and then we walk back into the material life of the continuous cycle. And Krishna does that very happily, because the reason for this is Krishna kind of fulfills their desires and clears them from the path. The reason for this is Krishna does not want to be bound by anybody until and unless that it requires the devotion and bhakti is love. Krishna is bound by love. So, and it's very hard. Love requires surrender. Love of Godhead requires surrender. It's very easy to submit to material desires, but it's very, very difficult to do bhakti. And bhakti is beyond material desires. Therefore, bhakti and bhakta, they are very rare element, very rare to be found. Even Krishna has said that in Bhagavad Gita. So Agnidra is looking for Apsara to beget a son. His desire is to beget a son. And why he wanted to beget a son? So that he can go to Pitraloka and live there and his desires be fulfilled. Now, what's so attractive about Pitraloka? He has no desire to go back to Godhead. And he's a son of a Vaishnava. So again, this comes as to, in order to sustain in Pitraloka, he needed a son. And so that his son could do Pindadan and he can reside in Pitraloka. Now, what is the desire? What is the reason? The reason is the consciousness. If our minds are still stuck in the material consciousness, we will linger around material planets and keep circling from one to the other. And in this verse also it says that there are beautiful women beyond our imagination in other planetaries, in other planets, and they are far more beautiful, far more attractive than the features of women on earth. So Krishna consciousness is not for everybody, but if such contemplation is there, it stops our spiritual advancement. Now, we've been discussing about women here. We've been discussing about women here. We can see even for any sales production, on the banners, on TV, different advertisements and all, we often see that when a woman is there in the advertisement, most of the time the product gets a very success rate. The reason for that is this is based on the needs. So what is the need? Basically, people are attracted to contemplate on women. They are very happy. So this is the center of material sex attraction, and lusty desires is the center of material world. So Krishna consciousness basically teaches us to go beyond, above and beyond material consciousness. When we talk about Agnidra's going to Pitraloka, there's this very interesting aspect which comes is even in the Pitraloka, when somebody is Krishna conscious, they often in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I read it in a lecture somewhere, and it said, I listened in a lecture, and they said Advaita Acharya actually set an example of inviting Haridas Thakur when he was doing the Pindadan so that anyone who is in the Pitraloka can move forward their journey back to Godhead. So this is setting an example. So another point that we can learn from here is during this Pitra Paksh days, if we serve the Vaishnavas, there are high chances that the ones who are in Pitraloka, our ancestors who are in Pitraloka, has a chance to go forward towards serving or becoming the resident of Vaikuntha Lokas. So Krishna consciousness teaches the Vaishnavas to be served nicely, so that there's an open journey for the people to go back to Godhead who are in Pitraloka. So as Agnidra was in meditation, Brahmaji, he was meditating on Brahmaji. So Brahmaji knew his desire, and Shukadev Goswami here is describing every detail about a woman, how she walked, what, etc., etc. There's so much information. He could have actually said very straight and clear that he was attracted to this woman, and in simple words, this could have been explained, but he described it in extreme details. The reason for this is even for material consciousness, even Srimad Bhagavatam invites, Shukadev Goswami here invites every individual who is even attracted to come to Srimad Bhagavatam and find some attraction towards it. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, he's explaining, Shukadev Goswami is explaining, this is to attract general people as well into Srimad Bhagavatam. And as said, woman is a form of attracting anyone and everyone. We can also see that in Samudra Manthan Leela, where the Lord himself came as woman when there was this war between the demons and the devatas for the nectar of immortality. So the Lord himself had to take this form of Mohini Roop, and therefore had to put illusion in the minds of not only demons, but the devatas also were so fascinated and illusioned by the beauty of the form, by the beauty of the form of the woman in Samudra Manthan Leela. So when Prabhupada explains here that when we are struck by lust, we forget the reality, but we are attracted towards kamesha, krodesha, etc. And lust makes us do unwanted things, and we're compelled to fall down. When we do unwanted things, we're compelled to fall down from the spiritual platform. So basically, we can see that there's this detailed description, as I asked the first question, how did you feel about reading this big description about the woman from who is an Apsara from Mandara Hill, Mandara Mountains? So basically, Krishna consciousness is a beautiful jewelry which not everyone can have. And Krishna does not give himself to others just like that, to anyone just like that. Otherwise, out of love, Krishna can be attracted out of because by love only. So there's this reciprocation that comes: love of Godhead, love for Godhead, and love with Godhead. And definition of love can be ultimate sharanagati. And if we take it from the material concept of love, we can see that in order to see that if somebody loves us, there is a lot of care, there's a lot of time spending, there's this determination and wanting to know more about the Lord. And similarly, if we see it in the divine form of love, if there is no determination, if there's no time spending, if there's no respect, if there's no care, nothing like that, and if there's no surrender, for example, how can that love bloom? So to understand Krishna's love, we have to be based on to understand divine love, we have to have this tuning in of consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. Our consciousness is basically stuck at some material aspects, which are a pieces of glasses, as Dhruv Maharaj said, to forgetting that there is this beautiful jewel in front of us. And by the process of surrender, we can get the love of Godhead. So this is from moving from conditional love to unconditional love. And in material world, this is not possible. Therefore, we must awaken our love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada was being asked by one of his disciples that if I love my children, if I love my family, if I love my relationships, will I be able to love God? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, but it is the other way around. If you love God, then you will love your children the deepest way. Then you love your family members the deepest way. So, because Krishna is the root, and everything becomes nourished. In this way, when our love is centered around Krishna, when our love is centered around Krishna, the rest of our lives become organized, or become loving. Or so the goal of love is the goal, and the success of love is to have divine love for Krishna. So here we are talking about attractions. We're not talking about the love aspect of a man-woman relationship here. So Krishna, there's one interesting aspect as well, which I heard from His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj in Maharaj's lectures. Krishna, he said, Krishna is interested in what you give him, and Krishna is not interested. He said, Krishna is not interested in what you give him. Krishna is interested in what you're holding back. And our problem is we are holding back a lot for ourselves. We are holding back our love for Krishna as well. And therefore we are testing him time and again. So when we stop holding back our love for Krishna, then Krishna will be interested to see why are we holding, like, everything even in the material world, our consciousness is such that if I have $100, then I'll buy stuff for myself, maybe for $80, and then whatever is remaining, I might say, oh, I think I can buy something for Krishna. So this is where our consciousness is usually. So in that case, if we want to find that love, Srimad Bhagavatam is the place. Maharaj said, Srimad Bhagavatam is that place where we develop love for Krishna. So I like to stop here with Srila Prabhupada saying that once the devotee is fixed in Krishna consciousness, these attractions will not agitate his mind. With the prayers that through reading Srimad Bhagavatam and realizing or understanding, we don't have that. I don't have that mind of realization, but understanding the messages which are sitting in Srimad Bhagavatam and exploring them in our day-to-day lives, praying that by the blessings of Guru, we can develop some love for Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there's any corrections, anything, any questions or anything you would like to add, or please feel free. I can mute myself.
Pranam.
Danvat Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
How nicely you have explained this text, though it is a very, very complicated one. The two important things, two parameters of the opposite side. One is material parameters and other is spiritual parameter. You have given us a good example to understand the differences of both the things. And the last is the example from is Keshav Maharaj, that how much you hold is the most important thing for Krishna to understand, not how much you are giving. That is so important. It's a small statement, it's very, very deep. So it is upon us to understand our interest. You have to just switch on and off. So you have a switchboard in front of you. You just switch it according to your desire, whether to the left hand side or right hand side is up to you. And everything is given by Krishna because he is the root of everything. If you switch on the right switch towards the right direction, you'll get everything. As Srila Prabhupada mentioned, and he also highlighted that point, that one devotee asked him, if we are interested in material desire, how can we get the spiritual desire? But other way around, if you look for Krishna, Krishna will shower everything, whether it is material or spiritual. So it is up to us how to switch on the board. Yeah, that's what the message is. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for your nice class. I like that your statement of saying that why Agnidhara went to Mandara Hills. That's one of the important point you have mentioned, that because for getting some fruitive actions, he went to Mandara Hills. Instead of that going to a holy place to take a meditation, he went to a more opulent place where he gets all the material things. Okay, one thing, why Agnidhara wanted to go to Pitraloka? See, normally people wanted to go to Pitraloka when their ancestors are gone to Pitraloka. Here, in the case of Agnidhara, his ancestor Priyavarta and Priyavarta he has gone back to Godhead. And in the case of his grandfather Swayambhuva Manu, he has also went back to Godhead. And his great grandfather Brahma still living. So there is nobody for him in the Pitraloka to be associated. So that is my question. Can anybody throw some light on that? Why he decided to go to Pitraloka? There is nobody existing in his family in Pitraloka.
So basically, when we read verse 2, Prabhu, in verse 2, Agnidhara desired Pitraloka, though he's a son of
Priyavarta, yeah.
It is because Agnidhara was born when Priyavarta himself was infatuated by the lusty desires.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah, so we probably may not have a very clear answer at the moment. If somebody has that, please put light on that. It is a very good question, which I think Sannyasi would be able to answer this, because why is a question of desire. And we may have, as I mentioned, that we may have so many desires which we may not be able to actually realize, but there are attractions that we may be having. So why that desire was there is very personal to Agnidhara. Knowing that he developed lusty desires to be able to go back to, or maybe in the verses in the future, if we see. So probably we see that in Pitralok, there is also this Pitras who live in great delight. So like someone having a great attraction to Swarga Loka, because there are apsaras there, because there's this fruitive stuff that people want.
Pitraloka is normally an intermediate stage, and from there they will go up or go down. That's according to their karmanya devanetrena. That is according to their karma. So this is only an intermediate stage, Pitraloka.
So we also see from that aspect that he is not materially, he's very much materially conscious, and therefore his desire to be in the spiritual platform is not yet there. So probably by the blessings, and therefore this is a lesson for us. I mean, why he desired, I may probably not be able to explore that myself, but there's a lesson surely for us to have to keep a check on our desires. Is there anybody else, or Prabhu, do you still want, do you have that, do you feel that there may be some reason?
Anybody can share any other particular reason?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu,
And nice point Prabhuji brought up, and so I was just wondering, one of the things, many of the times, at least I can say about myself, we are not too confident about. I'm not too confident about myself. Think, oh, that's such a lofty goal. Okay, something in between that itself is okay. If I get that, that's fine. Because other one is very lofty. So let me, if I get some intermediate thing, that's okay. That's nice consolation prize. So I'll go for that. So many times I have
That's a
moved
good
like that.
idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So probably we'll be speculating on Agnidhara's desire, because like it's quite difficult to know who is desiring what. So, but we do know that he was affected. Priyavarta was affected by this lusty desires. Therefore, that is being passed on, even though he's a Vaishnava. So material attractions can attract anybody in the world. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada often says that we have to be afraid of Maya. Maya's.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Beautiful question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Hare Krishna Madhit. Thank you for a nice exposition of this very difficult verse. So many angles you looked at. Okay, just on commenting on Agnidhara's design to go to Pitralok, as you mentioned, at the time of conception, Priyavrata also was in a mode of passion. So we learn from Bhagavad Gita, at the conception, the male and female, their consciousness attracts a sort of soul who is in that sort of mood. So we can see maybe Agnidhara was already in that mood of enjoying, want to go to Pitraloka. And at the time of conception, the parents were in that mood. So they attracted that person, and then his desires become fulfilled. So that's one angle of looking at it. So at the point of conception is very important for the parents and for men and women. So although Priyavrata Maharaj was already in the elevated stage, at that point in time, his conception, this study happened, and then the Agnidhara sort of arrive at that point because he had that desire, that soul got attracted. So that's why I look at it.
Yes. Hare Krishna Mataji. Just to contemplate on that point, the text too is explaining the whole scenario.
Yeah.
And Madhav Govinda Prabhu was explaining this one. Yeah, that's how Prabhuji explained. It is the time of conception. Their desire reflects onwards during the time of conception that decides the future life.
Yes,
So
yes, Prabhu.
text 2 is the whole
Text,
description of that.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji, Dhanvar Pranam. Is it not when a person is reborn, he has that ego, intelligence taken over to the next birth? Would that be a possible reason for that?
Yes, Prabhu, surely that can be the reason, because we don't have desires which are only of this life. We have desires, like as I mentioned, that in the if we take the example of an iceberg, we just know some desires are very evident, very clear in front of us, that, oh, I want this, I don't want this, or I'm after this. But some of the desires are unimaginably sitting in our heart, which we may not even know. We can't even imagine. I can think about it. I may have that desire. So which is sitting. But yes, text 2 does surely mentions here, Prabhu, that Goswami Giridhar, one of the Bhagavatam commentator, remarks that Agnidhara was born when Maharaj Priyavarta was infatuated by lusty desires. This may be accepted as a fact because sons are begotten with different mentalities according to the time of their conception. According to the Vedic system, therefore, before a child is conceived, a Garbhadhana samskara is performed. Now, that comes as your mind ego question as well, because with those purification that's happening, it does help to so Garbhadhana samskara is a purification process. This ceremony molds the mentality of the father in such a way that when he plants his seed in the womb of his wife, he'll beget a child whose mind will be completely saturated with devotional attitude. So at the present moment, there's no such Garbhadhan samskar as which Srila Prabhupada writes more. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. This verse explains everything. And yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, the other things, we often see a doctor's son cannot be a doctor. So you need to educate yourself to the line to become a doctor. The similar notation you can see, even though Priyabrata was a great devotee, it may not be that his son would follow the same thing. So it depends on the same scenario, the time of conception.
Yeah. It also becomes an important aspect of consciousness is there for every living entity. So at that time, we can also understand how our consciousness, this also means association of devotee, how our consciousness is transformed by the association. If we are in the association of alcoholics, our consciousness will be transformed into the positives of alcoholism. Oh, this is just an example. So similarly, if our association is around those people who Krishna consciousness, our consciousness will be transformed. So the whole process is about transferring from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. And in between, there is so many desire. We either get to fulfill it or we have to sideline it in order to get to this, in order to move to the spiritual advancement. So surely he wanted Pitraloka because he was full of desires, and like Swargaloka, there's a sense of enjoyment there. Often back in India, when I was young, I used to think like, why everyone has to go to Swargalok? What is Swargalok? Does God live there or what? And lately, when I came to know that Swargaloka is also a place of material enjoyment, then what is the point of going there? So it is a enjoying propensity which is connected to the desires. And until we have this sense of self, which comes as I want to enjoy, these desires cannot be changed to spiritual consciousness. So our desires and consciousness are very much intermingled around each other.
And the other thing is that all the souls are individual. So they are individual. They are not connected to each other. So that also, and if you see the example of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, it is 180 degrees. So it is not like the father becomes a demon, son could be a demon. The same example comes.
Yeah.
It is the conception time.
Yeah, and it's very much a personal choice as well. Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us how to change our personal choices for the advancement in the choices that we make for purification of our consciousness. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I think we have run over
Thank you,
time.
Mataji.
Thank you.
Vanchakalpataryascha kripa sindhuvaihi
Patitanam
Patitanam.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.